Welcome to the Google Admin Podcast, the podcast by and for Google Admins. My name is Lance Lennon. I'm the Technology Director for the Eagle Grove Community School District in Eagle Grove, Iowa.
My name is Chad Fricks. I'm the Director of Technology for Adele DeSoto Minburn School District in Central Iowa.
And I am Carl Hare, Google Cloud Solutions Consultant for Amplified IT. Still based in Iowa, but the company is based in Norfolk, Virginia.
That's a fancy title.
It is. It's actually going to be changing.
Oh, sweet.
You guys and your titles.
Even fancier.
Are you, have you gotten, you're back down from your fancy title though, Chad.
I am.
You're no longer Director of Innovation.
Right. That belongs to someone else, thankfully. I have enough to do.
Someone else can innovate. I'll just take care of crap. All right. So as we try to do every time is just a real quick, well, first off, let me say we have been inconsistently consistent or consistently inconsistent in our getting out a podcast. We apologize as we adjust to new lives, new jobs, new positions. We are trying to figure out how this stuff will work. Of course, changes then to no longer having Hangouts on air. Graciously Amplified is letting us use their Hangouts Meet from their enterprise so that can be recorded. That's how we're doing this. We do miss the ability for audience members to watch us live and be able to input questions. But like I said, sometimes maybe it's better not to watch us live. You won't hurt our feelings when you leave the broadcast.
Right. But that said, if anyone from Google listens to this later, we do miss that functionality. We really miss the Hangouts Live or YouTube Live that we were able to do with questions.
Man, I wish
it can be done. You can still set up a YouTube or Hangouts on air type thing, but you have to have a connector. And the biggest issue I was having was, well, number one, any connector I'm going to try and run on my laptop, the fan's going to run, and you're going to hear the wonderful. But I also couldn't get. Is it OSP?
OBS?
You know which one that is? OBS, yeah.
Open Broadcasting Software. Yep.
I could get it all to connect in, and then just no audio. And a lot of you might be thinking that'd be better. But
not very good for a podcast to not have audio.
No, not good for a podcast. But to not have to hear me.
Oh,
you just get to look at this.
The mess of a podcast that we did at the Dells back in the fall.
Yeah, that
could have been so much better. No, the spring.
Oh,
that was.
No, it was
the fall one. You're right. Yeah,
fall. Spring hasn't happened yet.
Spring is coming.
Now I'll do a little bit of a tease because one of the things we're talking about is enterprise, and one of the big things coming to Meet in enterprise is the ability to live stream events and have people view those live streamed events outside of your domain. And so that might be something we could leverage going forward as well, but it's not out yet. TBD on that one.
Will they have the chat feature?
I don't know. We'll have to see because we can chat. So we can chat in the side right now, but nobody can chat with us.
Listening. Yeah, I was gonna say. So Google, if you're listening, we enjoy when people can ask us questions on the air. Keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, not like they usually asked a ton of questions, but the ones they asked were usually quite relevant and added to the episode. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they had information too that we didn't necessarily have. So that was good also.
We don't know all of it by far.
But now that we got it sorted, hopefully we'll be able to be a little more consistent in our podcast, get back into it again.
Absolutely.
Right.
One of the things that I found great in my transition is the number of people that I've run into that have asked, when are we going to do our next podcast? Just people on the East Coast, West Coast, different people I've talked to. So there are people that genuinely listen to us three schlubs talk about what's new and exciting in Google. So if we can get back into our pattern again about once a month, every 2 months, whatever it is, I think that'd be great. And I miss chatting with you guys. How's the school year's going?
School year's going incredibly fast. It's just, already to the point now where I'm planning for next year and trying to figure out.
I would agree. This school year's flown by. I can't believe it's nearly March.
Yay, testing season.
Yeah, I've been super busy with school. Just all kinds of different stuff going on. So
no, but it's been going good. I think it's been a very good year for us. We've had, I'm gonna curse it here, but it's been an excellent year in terms of lack of breakage of devices. I think the quality of the Chromebooks is increased so much over the original ones that we purchased, and every generation that comes out gets just, better, and I think more durable. But two, it's a matter of kids realizing what the expectations are, realizing this has to last them a certain amount of time. But yeah, knock on wood, it's been a very good year for that for us.
Either of you doing any big refreshes this summer? New big Chromebooks purchased? Do any research on those?
I will be doing my 2 through 4. We'll be getting the Chromebooks, and then probably my staff. We're moving Chromebooks for our staff, it looks like.
Have you run a pilot group with your staff, or are you just going to say,
ran a pilot group
anymore?
Nope. Did a pilot group this year. And I picked what I would consider varying levels of technology usability and positions. Like I had a math teacher at the high school because I thought that would be the most intense use or need for one. Middle school science teacher, middle school language arts teacher, high school computer apps teacher. So really tried to throw in there. And then elementary, tried to pick an upper and lower elementary and let them run with it. And they've all said they actually have no fear of going full-blown Chromebook next year.
Nice.
Cool beans. Hey, that's good data, because right now I'm in the process of trying out a few different Chromebooks that are on the market right now. We'll have 2 years left on our staff machines for a 4-year refresh cycle. But I've already started looking at the devices that are out now, hoping for some better ones to come out. I don't want to get our staff anything smaller than a 13-inch screen. They've said as much. And I would really like the staff machines to also have a world-facing camera. And right now, I don't know of a Chromebook that has a 13-inch screen and a world-facing camera.
No, we demoed, my pilot group have the Acer Spin 13, and it does not have the world-facing camera. Yep. It's got the stylus and the stylish garage, and just a great Chromebook, but no world-facing camera.
Right. I'm doing this podcast right now on an Asus Chromebook convertible 13-inch, and I love this Chromebook, but it does not have that world-facing camera. And I think a lot of our teachers would utilize that for different things.
One of the big things for our teachers is we're really trying to show the pilot group and really talk to them. Before we pulled this out, I brought them in for 2 days of training, and one thing we really worked on was Jamboard, building lessons on that. And that world-facing camera on Jamboard would make a huge difference, because once they go into tablet mode, I mean, the use on Jamboard and then their ability to display it. We're using the Airtames on 65-inch TVs.
Yes.
But to be able to just take a picture with that world-facing camera instead of having to turn around, try and see what they're taking a picture, that would be huge.
Go walk around the room, snap a picture of a kid's work in their notebook, shoot it up on Jamboard and annotate over top of it and talk about it in class just live. The functionality of that would finally start to change the classroom. Technology would start to creep in and start to change the classroom, in my opinion. So that's what I'm after. Is that
it would be a shift from the application to actually implementing and using technology to affect teaching rather than having the tool be the effect.
Yeah. Yep.
So you guys are looking for
easy shift.
You guys are looking for the convertibles. You're looking for touch screens, world-facing cameras. What about RAM? Are you guys looking? Because most of the folks I'm talking to, they're saying they want to shoot for 8 gigs of RAM in their Chromebooks going forward, especially for staff.
8 on my teachers.
Yep.
The ones we got were 8. I think they were 864.
Because for whatever reason, staff almost always have 606 tabs open right now.
Oh, my students do too, but they've just learned they have to pare them back. My teachers just sit there and go, "It's not working.
It's not working. This is so slow. Stupid Chromebook. It's so slow." Well, did you click the Chrome icon and notice that not only do you have 65 tabs open in this iteration of Chrome. You have 6 other iterations with 85 tabs, 46 tabs, and 3 tabs.
Plus an incognito window with multiple tabs inside of it.
Right.
And I've also found that, especially when you go to the 13-inch screen or larger, is having the i5 or the i3 processor over the Celerons in the lower models. It does bump up the price, but it really makes a huge difference in speed and what the teacher's performance is. So
it does,
especially when we're using like the Airtame for display. That's a big one too. I'm asking a lot of those machines, and I'll tell you what, they were running, I think, like 550 on the teacher models, which, because we're MacBooks now, that's going to be half of an $1,100 MacBook, which I think is about the base price of the MacBooks coming out. So
still half.
Yeah, no, we're, like I said, I met with the high school today, and I've got a couple of teachers who are leery of change. And I understand that, but they were leery when we moved them from desktops to laptops too. I've got and I hate to say it this way, and because I do have some what I would call veteran teachers who are perfectly fine with it, but it seems that my novice teachers or my newer or younger teachers are more willing to make the switch. My middle school was all on board with it, and they're a younger staff also, and they were just kind of like a couple of things. Like in Iowa, we have the IEP that has to be run on Firefox.
Not really.
Thank you, state of Iowa.
You just can't print a couple sections is all now.
Yeah, it's a pain.
That's what AppStream's for.
I was going to say, you can solve that with virtualized application pretty easily.
No, and that will be our solution.
Speaking of virtualized applications, there's a very great story that about you losing, Lance, when it comes to smart boards. How are your staff devices? What's the story? Are they going to connect to smart boards? Is there some sort of magic technology that does that now? Or are you going to finally go and win that one?
Oh, no, I'm not going to win. We're too invested. But at my elementary level, they're all interactive flat panel smart boards. So we've gone away from the projection model. The nice thing is, built in onto those is the Notebook Lite application where they can open up those. They don't have to be connected to their Chromebook. They can actually open up their smart lessons and then do the interaction on there. They can't. Now, the problem still is the creation of the smart app using Notebook. And Smart keeps saying they're going to come up with a web version of it. They haven't yet, but I'm kind of like, okay, that's awesome, but here's Jamboard, which will still display on your smart board and still have all the interactivity because you can do it right. And you can connect kids in directly with their tablets at their desk. So and now they don't have to come up to the board.
Here's some functionality, you Googlers that are listening. So one of the cool things about the smart software is that library of lessons, right? So if Google would somehow come up with a repository of Jamboard educational lessons made by others that are searchable and downloadable, that would solve the problem, and we could just go straight Jamboard, right?
Mm-hmm. And I absolutely love Jamboard. There's tons of functionality to it. I don't think there's any need for the hardware at all. I mean, every kid with a Chromebook has a Jamboard. You don't need a big one. But one of the big concerns that I have actually is the fact that Jamboard's not caught in Vault right now.
True.
that bothers a lot of schools and even me to some extent. And I'm pretty much whatever, do what you need to do. Education first, consequences second.
I'm with you, Carl, but what other things on the internet aren't caught in Vault that they can do whatever they want? So how's it really any different than any other whiteboard app?
Correct.
That's exactly true, because some kid comes up and draws on the smart board. It's not, the teacher just stepped away or whatever. It ain't caught on the smart board who did it. So
Yep. That gets into that conversation about accountability, security versus control, classroom management. Where does it all fit, right? It's a conversation we've had lots of times on this podcast.
2 weeks ago, one of my assistant principals wanted me to block Padlet because the kids were using it to chat during class. I'm like, okay, I'll block that, but then they're going to use this, and I started listing off other things that are similar.
Or they're going to use paper and a pen and pass notes. Are you going to take that away from them too?
I'm with you guys, and I convinced him of the same thing. He actually listened. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. We can't just keep blocking everything. That would be silly." Although I did. I got an email from someone that came to our GSFE admin conference last summer in the Dells, and came to one of my sessions on security, and he lost the argument, and his administration now blocks everything, including all websites except those that they whitelist.
Whoa!
Websites even?
Yeah. So the only things they can go to are URLs in the whitelist. So he was asking for some advice on how to better do that, and I was like,
get a new job.
Get a new job. That's what I was thinking. So I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean,
was he having to whitelist
what's the point of a one-to-one if you have to whitelist every single thing? Could you imagine?
Well,
I asked some questions. I asked some follow-up questions, and I haven't heard back. But I just asked, do you not have a categorical web filter? And with maybe a penalty box like GoGuardian has for the actual naughty kids instead of universally blocking everything for everyone? I don't know the district. I don't know the administrator, but it sounds sort of like the old.
And I wouldn't want you to name them.
No, I wouldn't.
Anyway.
And I wouldn't. But
good, but I do want you to tell me later.
I'm saying I don't know them, but it sounds completely old school. Like, wow, I couldn't believe that was coming. In today's age, and they were a one-to-one Chromebook school. I said, what was the point of doing that if you're just going to turn everything off?
Wow.
My mind glitched because I'm like, what? Did I read that right? I had to read that email like 3 times just to be sure I was reading it correctly. I'm like, so this poor guy is having to go in the admin console. So they do have a Google form process for teachers to submit URLs, which is what I do for the naughty kids that are in the penalty box. Right. We use GoGuardian, so they have to send me URLs that they need. So I do that, and that's a big enough pain. Imagine doing that for every kid,
every teacher, every
K-12 school district.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the worst part is I think you would totally be hamstringing anyone being creative, because the process basically is anti-creativity or finding anything new. It is use what you know because it's already been whitelisted unless you want to go through the process.
Absolutely no spontaneity in that situation.
No.
But yeah, that was crazy.
But the nice thing is that would probably, well, no, it wouldn't. So I was trying to think of one of the things that we're going to talk about later. I thought it would correct that one also, but it won't because that's still open.
Let's just transition into, so we had the opportunity to go listen to Carl present last week on Thursday.
That was weird.
It was a little weird, and I wasn't sure how to act because I'm used to presenting with you, and I might have been too vocal.
No, you're fine.
No one else was talking, so I thought somebody should.
Correct, which is normal for Iowa.
Yeah, you would ask questions, and everyone would sit there. So I'm like, God damn it! Here we go. I'll say something.
There goes a PG rating.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I said shoot. Oh,
I know, but you almost said
yeah.
Anyway, the GD before.
So Carl came to Iowa. Actually, he left his home office and drove a few blocks.
Carl came across town.
But Amy was there, our Google rep, and Carl presented on Enterprise. But just to tie this in quickly to the story I was just talking about, I asked Amy, I said, wouldn't it be awesome if, and it might have come up in another discussion, but I said, wouldn't it be awesome if instead of just a white list and a black list inside the council, you guys used like a free service and allowed us to categorically block websites from within the council, thus negating the need for something like GoGuardian or whatever? Wouldn't that be awesome, Amy?
That'd be awesome for us. It would probably not be as awesome for those vendors that have made, large investments into that software.
That's true, but I mean, now there's a free one with Bark.
That's free. Well, and Securely is free,
and Securely has a free version. So eventually, I think it's just going to happen, don't you? So And quite honestly,
I think the ability to block is going to be free. The reporting features and or the extras are what you'll pay for.
Yep.
Until
that's what I was just going to say. Like the extras is what they're going to have to focus on and what they're going to make their money on. You know, GoGuardian's got some cool features that you have to pay extra for now.
So they just spun off a feature that they're adding more cost to, right?
Yep. So like their old smart alerts is now Beacon.
Yep.
And as soon as my 3-year deal is up, we're gonna have to reconsider all things because I can filter differently for free. Do we want these other features, or can we use Mark to get some of that same smart alert stuff for free? Also, I mean, so all that comes into play. So
or the contrary could be happening, which is Bark could start to charge.
They're a non-profit right now. I suppose they could change to profit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Or
that's a lot of hoops
it could also be that they only charge to recoup their cost.
True.
I mean, as a nonprofit, it doesn't mean they can't make money. It just means they don't have investors making money.
I get that.
And so to kind of continue that conversation, Chad, so that security summit was Google's security summit that we at Amplified do. There's actually 20 of them. There's 18 more all over the country. And it's all part of showcasing Google security, right? Not just enterprise, but some basics like talking about DLP and app access control and app management and advanced protection program and two-step verification and the importance of two-step verification.
Oh my gosh. How many times do we have to get on our soapbox before people tick the fucking box?
Correct.
Just turn it on. I could not believe it.
At a minimum,
turn
have
it on
turned
so
on for your super admins. Yes.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
I would say enforce it for your super admins.
Yes, enforce it for your, but at a bare minimum, turn it on.
Yeah.
So people can actually do it if they choose.
Yeah, but have people being able if they want to.
And I would highly encourage enforcing it for any adult in your domain.
Yep. And you and I have harped on this how many times?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, the crickets in the room. The lack of hands going up. What was there one other district?
Okay, so go back. And so what happened was, you do have to say is that Carl asked, how many people here have two-step turned on for their super admin accounts? And it was less, I would say 30% or less and there were 57 attendees, 30% or less said their super admin accounts were two-factor enforced. And it was just mind-blowing. You just sat there and thought.
Yes, mind-blowing. My head about exploded. You should have seen me back at that table. I was like, I hit the guy next to me from Council Bluffs. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
And to those that are listening and watching, it may look like Chad's being bleeped, but he's actually self-censoring, which is nice.
which is a big deal. It's a big win for Chad. But that's one of those basic things. And that's where, some of the basic security stuff that we're getting from Google is being built in there. We should take the opportunity to take advantage of those three pieces. And where they're moving now with enterprise is not because they're going to start charging for G Suite, not because they're going to start going back on you got this for free, is that they're adding more reporting features, more robust security features and some of that sort of thing to enterprise, as well as some instructional tools as well that are adding on top of it that we're going to be paying for if you so choose to use them. They're not required by any stretch of the imagination, but being able to manage Windows 10 devices, or have originality reports, or doing some advanced reporting on some of the things in your domain, you're getting a ton of functionality on top of the stuff. And one of the things that I've seen, and I fall into it too, is we're so used to getting things for free in schools. We already get discounts on stuff to begin with, and then like, and we'll give this to free for EDU. And then we don't consider what it costs to do the things. And if we want to keep the things free, paying a little bit for some of these more advanced features that we can choose to have will give us a lot more free features in the future, or at least keep our free features free in the future. And I know both you guys were there. Lance, you'd actually gone through an enterprise trial. Chad, your enterprise trial starting soon,
today.
Actually today, didn't it?
I think it started. Is today Tuesday? Yeah, I think it started today. I forgot to go in and look. Shoot. Yeah, it started today. I had a busy, crazy day today, but yeah, it did start today.
And so what are some of the things, Lance, that you liked about enterprise when you went through your trial?
So the thing, well, not just during the trial, I do like the being able to go deeper on some of the reports. The Hangouts Meet being able to record and that's self-serving because of things like this. Yep. I like the reports on the Meet. We had a couple of teachers that were using them, especially in our foreign language. We had a teacher leave, and our sub was not a Spanish teacher, and so we actually were using Meet to teach some of our. It was a very quick way to contact in. But being able to go through and show, how many disconnects, what did we have, or who was on here, how long were they on, who originated it, those kinds of reports are really nice. But for me personally, when you look at it, originality reports is going to be huge. Because we every year look very closely and have, I think every other year, every now and then they win the battle, lose the battle for turnitin.com.
Yep.
And to put it all under one roof and get these things along with that, for basically almost the same as what we would pay for Turnitin, I'm money ahead, or at least even in the race at that point in time.
Right. And that originality report to me is really, really cool as an instructional tool, because Google is looking at it as a redirect, because the kids get to run the reports. They get to see where they're at. It's more about citing your sources than a big gotcha or a grading tool or that sort of stuff. Chad's trying to get a FlexiSched commercial here.
I'm not. I'm trying to deal with my dog.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was trying to get Ace on the picture.
So with the originality reports, so even that, there is functionality for free with an originality reports, but having enterprise, you get complete accessibility to it. And what I consider the most important part is all of your student work stays within the G Suite domain. So then you don't have to upload it to a third-party tool. Hey, it's Bob.
It's Bob. Hi, Bob.
If you're listening to this on a podcast and not on the video, you're all very lost right now.
Bob's my dog.
There's Bob.
He wanted to say hi. Yeah. Ace was saying hi, and he was getting jealous.
Ace is being a turd.
So originality reports was one of the things that was big for you, Lance. Chad, what are some things that you thought was interesting about it?
So I just want to the originality stuff would be useful to my teachers for sure. I'm honestly not quite sure what they're using now for that functionality. We do not pay for Turnitin. So I'm really not sure what they're using. But I'm more interested in a lot of the workflows that you can do in there. Graphically, you can do with tools like GAM and other stuff for free. So I want to compare. My big thing is I'm able to do those advanced workflows free using GAM because I have that skill set. But say my technician or anyone I hire after me may not have that skill set. So having a tool that they could do things and take them off of my plate, I need to analyze that and see how much benefit that would give the district, and then decide if it's worth the money.
And you can honestly look as some of those reports may be beneficial for your school administrators to look at too and have access to. And so now you don't have to run them for them. They can generate those.
Yep.
If you want to look at the licensing that way, I mean, that could be huge too. It's someone doesn't have to call me every time and and say, hey, I need to know this bit of information.
Right. I mean, that's part of our RFP for our security camera system right now. Right now, our security camera system is so complex. It's either me or my technician that has to get the video off this stupid thing because no one else can figure it out. So one of the stipulations in that RFP is ease of use. This has to be accessible by a Luddite.
I know of a good camera system that ease of use.
Not a sponsor of this program.
Yeah.
I know it's not there, but some of you may know just from what I'm drinking out of.
We just hung some more of those today. We have some demos that were bouncing around.
They sent you more than one demo?
No, we purchased them.
Oh, okay.
But we wanted a couple of each type of camera just to see how they worked.
You get
back to enterprise.
Yeah, well, you get to a very good point on that, Chad. Is our efficiency and our time. One of the reasons why I first set up my first G Suite domain back at South Hammy, I don't want to think about how long ago that was about the efficiency and ability for me to manage things quickly and easily. In addition to the creativity and the collaboration, that sort of stuff. But selfishly, it's easier for me to handle those things. And because none of us have a crap ton of extra time, right? I love playing around with GAM. You play around with GAM and AppScript. But that's because we enjoy that stuff. It might not be, it's not efficient for me to teach one of my techs that. And so if I just have a tool for them to use, I'm saving that little bit of efficient time, because really, as directors of technology, we should be out in the classroom. We should be having conversations with administrators. We should be actually moving the district forward, as opposed to break fix and managing. It should just work.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, I got to teach 8th grade social studies all day yesterday. That was so fun. I taught 7 periods of 8th grade social studies. I was doing a Wii video lesson. It was so much fun getting back in the classroom. So yes, Carl, all those.
I got to chase down a loopback yesterday.
Oh, darn teachers!
Student found a patch cable.
Nice.
Oh, and decided to plug it in.
Decided it would be fun to do that with the phone.
Spanning tree, Mr. Lennon. Spanning tree.
Yeah, it doesn't catch right away.
Yeah, not right away. Anyway, your point is extremely valid. We should be advancing the district as directors, not always just fixing things like loopbacks and all that. So
user provisioning and
yeah, all those ands. If we could make it so other people could do that efficiently, that takes things off our plate and we can do other cool things.
Correct. Anything else on enterprise? Otherwise, I want to move on to some other new instructional stuff that you got in there, Lance.
Well, no, I just it's one of those things. I did think it was interesting though with the enterprise, as we were sitting there in the security summit and you were talking about it. A question came across the GSFE admins Google Plus community about, does anybody know the cost of enterprise?
Oh, yeah.
Chad and I were both like, we're just happened to be sitting in where someone told us what the price is.
Well,
and the number of people that came on the thread and were so anti, like, why would you pay for this when it's going to go away? Or what's the point of this? And who has that kind of money? And I just kind of like,
be cautious of introductory pricing. They're just going to triple the price later. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. And then, so I'm talking to Amy. Amy was sitting right back by me. And I was asking permission to post the screenshot of the slide, and Lance does it while I'm asking for
permission. I didn't do a screenshot.
You didn't do a screenshot, but you
pricing. I gave the pricing.
Because Amy, I wanted to ask permission because I didn't know if it was globally available. So Amy was asking her bosses back at the mothership, and before she got permission, Lance had posted it. So I did it in a
WikiLeaks.
Post. Yeah, Lance WikiLeaks. He's now in. Lance has moved to England, awaiting extradition.
Extradition by Google.
Sitting in a consulate somewhere.
I don't think there's any country that would not extradite for Google at this point in time.
So I'll be the first to admit there's a little bit of sticker shock when it comes to enterprise.
But when you break it down, so that's one of my initial ones. But when you break it down and you actually, it's just FTE, and it has to be 1 to 10, so 1 FTE to 10 students.
Yep.
Because when they originally posted it, it was $4 per user. Like, they didn't identify that it was just FTE users necessarily.
Per month. $4
per month.
Sorry,
per month. Yeah, per month. So I was like, there's no way I can pay that. I have over 3,000 users in my domain. That's $12,000 a year or a month. I'm like, a month. Yeah, so $144,000 a year. There's no tool. Well, never mind.
No.
Yeah, there's none.
That's a teacher.
Nope, there's none. I was just going to say, unless it could teach children efficiently, and I didn't want to, but now I did.
Yeah, that's fine. But I don't want this to turn into a commercial for enterprise, because that's not.
Go ahead. We're talking about it. Yeah.
Well,
it's not a commercial. It's just it's passing on the information.
Yeah.
So the way Google has their pricing laid out right now, and obviously we'd love for you to come buy Amplified IT, buy it from Amplified, but right now there's promotional pricing out there that's $24 per year per full-time staff member. And with that you talked about, Chad, you get 10 free student licenses with that. So in reality, you're going to get
per FTE. Per
FTE. So if you have 1,000 FTE
license, you get 10
correct. If you have 1,000 staff, you get 10,000 free licenses. So you're looking at 11,000 licenses for the same price as just 1,000, right? So if you break it down that way, the per license that way, it's really much more reasonable. Yes. But that's if you do a full domain license. The partial domain gets a little more expensive, because then it's
still $4, right?
Yep. And then it's only for staff members. I wouldn't put a $48 a year paid license on a student without a really, really good reason to do that. And so there's lots of reasons.
Free students. If you do a partial domain, you don't get the free student ones.
Correct. And obviously, whoever your reseller is can go through the pricing on how that works too. But it's by doing the full domain, you get the free student licenses that get you access to a bunch of stuff for your kids as well as your staff, and then you have that pricing locked in for those 3 years. So then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to buy it for 3 years, but it locks it in for 3 years.
You're not obligated to do 3 years. They're obligated to maintain the price for 3 years for you.
Correct.
Right.
And that is a promotional pricing that Google's running through the end of July, I believe, is what what they were telling us.
And as fast as Google moves in 3 years, everything's going to look so different in 6 months, let alone 3 years. So those people that were tinfoil hatting on GSFE admins, I couldn't believe the negativity that was coming across on there. But
there's I know Lance, do you use Reddit at all?
No, I will not go down that rabbit hole. I would be gone forever.
So Chad, I'm pretty sure you use Reddit is my guess. Okay. So there is a K-12 sysadmins Reddit community that's actually really, really valuable. And they had a huge thread on enterprise as well. And it had a very similar tone to what we saw on our Google Plus community. And it gets to that big, yep, I understand Google's going to start charging for additional services. Yeah. There's also a lot of confusion on pricing too. I mean, there was somebody that popped into one of the threads and said it was $45 a month. And I was like, whoa, that ain't right.
Yeah. No, there's just, that they could be talking about enterprise pricing. I don't know what they actually cost, like non-K-12. It's more expensive.
Oh, obviously. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. It is.
Yeah. But it goes back to your point before of we're so used to getting things from free from Google that when they actually start trying to charge for advanced functionality, people throw a fit. I've never understood that. But I always come back to look at all the stuff they're giving us. And now they want to offer you some advanced functionality that they didn't have to, but they would like to recoup a little bit of the development costs for that.
Mm-hmm. And there's some things in there. There's some things in enterprise that people have been asking for, like the ability to geofence your accounts, basically. Yeah. So the ability to keep students or anybody using a school district account from outside the United States.
Right.
Right. And so there you go. There's context aware right there in enterprise. Set it up and away you go. Right. And you have that functionality.
Yes. Yep. And if you don't want that, stick with the free stuff.
Right. Correct. Talk to whoever it is that you buy your licenses from. I mean, obviously Amplified will help you out, but again, I don't want this to be a commercial for Amplified, but talk to them about how enterprise can work. I mean, there's tons of value to it, but ultimately in the end, if the free tool is enough for you and your school and you're efficient with managing it with tools like GAM and things like that, then awesome. You do you, and that's great. You know, I'm not gonna argue with you one way or another, right? It's like trying to argue OS again.
Mac sucks.
Guess who's not a so
An Apple fanboy?
I do. Yeah, no kidding. I don't have my museum set up yet. I have just my posters right now.
Posters.
I have my posters. Museums. I got to build the shelves, but I do really want to get. I want to talk about the autocorrect and predictive text and that sort of stuff that's coming, Lance.
Yeah. So that was another big one that came up on the GSFE admins Google Plus community.
Oh my God.
These are coming out. The autocorrect and the predictive text, which are powerful tools. I mean, they really are. And I kind of understand the autocorrect argument, but I don't agree with it. In that they want the ability, there's currently no way in the admin panel to turn it off.
Yes.
It is just there. You're just going to get it. Same with the predictive text. And there are those that say autocorrect is the downfall of Western society.
You're going to have to convince me that of the reasoning for needing to turn off autocorrect.
I don't think so. I can see where some people have a problem with it. I can at least see their viewpoint. I don't agree with it.
No, you're going to have to.
I'm with you.
I don't see their viewpoint because I just think that is an inaccurate viewpoint. What device doesn't
They're just wrong.
What device doesn't have autocorrect?
Paper and pencil.
And there you go.
Okay, what technological device?
Chalkboard.
Does not have
the chisel
autocorrect?
and the rock.
My vis-a-vis, my overhead projector, my vis-a-vis markers and transparencies.
Oh yeah, remember those?
That's what you said. Taught social studies. Like, yeah, that's what I used when I taught social studies.
And you cranked it over when the page was full?
No, I had individual sheets.
Oh,
I wasn't quite that old.
The math classes had the rollers.
Yeah.
The social studies.
My middle school science teacher used that like a boss. He had rolls and rolls that he would pop out. He would have pre-rolled stuff. Like, So
from last
like
year.
he taught the same thing. Yes, and he'd pop those rolls in.
So
here we go.
We're talking smart compose in Google Docs, right? Or smart compose on a vis-a-vis, which is what he had there.
Carl, not
he was going,
no,
you're fine.
It's okay.
But I guess I kind of one of the problems that we run into, being the type of tech directors that we are, is philosophical debates with the curriculum department or with teachers or with parents and that sort of thing. And none of the three of us would shy away from that conversation at all. We all would go and do that. Not everybody has that ability,
personality,
or has that relationship, or is maybe dumb enough.
The guy that has to whitelist every URL that's needed in class. Yeah.
Right. So if a make or break thing is just give me a checkbox to turn it off, maybe that's okay. But then I'm going to say, well, now wait a minute. If you put that checkbox in there to turn it off, and I happen to live next, and I don't, but I happen to live next to a tech director, and their community said, no, we're not going to do predictive text. Then those parents talk to my parents, and now I'm having to re-argue this debate over and over and over again. I mean, I've run across schools. I mean, even in a conversation earlier today, where they do not allow their students to do any sort of written assessment on a computer. They handwrite essay answers because they do not want the computer to give them any sort of advanced support with spelling, with grammar checks, with predictive text, any of that sort of stuff. And
which is great because when you go out in the real world, that's exactly. Yep.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. And that's the part that really flabbergasts me, because we paid extra for tools that did this very thing for students that needed it. So now Google's like, here, you can have it for free now.
Well, to be fair, spell check has been around in Microsoft Word forever. And no one ever said, we can't use Microsoft Word because it spell checks. They just complain and complain. And so then when Google Docs didn't have it, there were ELA teachers that were probably like thinking, this is the greatest thing ever. They have to learn how to spell. But the truth is, when you get out in the real world, if this tool is there, I don't know a business place that wouldn't want this in case you did send out something with a misspelling, like maybe a bumper sticker for your honor students.
That's grammar.
Only if they're A honor students.
That's right. That's technically it's grammar check, but
we've had spell check in Google Docs for a long time. It's the autocorrect function and the predictive text that. But now there was a little bit of kerfuffle that it was released general GA, but then all of a sudden it said in one of the support docs that it wasn't for education customers. But that still I still haven't officially gotten an answer on if it is indeed for sure coming to education, because we were told it was only coming to education, and the regular G Suite users, your public at Gmail, wasn't going to get it. And then a support document that dropped earlier last week had education removed from it. But one of the things I've learned recently, in the last 6 months specifically, even more so before, Google's support documentation isn't always the most accuratist. And so I really want to know if indeed we're getting this and if schools are actually starting to see it roll out. But this is a huge hot button topic with folks. I mean, obviously the three of us are all on the same page. But there are a lot of schools out there that think that this is Armageddon, and it's going to lead to a bunch of dumb kids that can't word process. We want originality reports. You're going to give me a computer where they can just click tab, 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 and execute an essay? No, they can't just click tab, 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 and execute an essay. It's not how it works. Have you ever gone through? That was a thing for a while. You started a text message on your phone and just click send or autocomplete.
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense at all. I don't know. It gets into that huge philosophical debate about really technology in general. Is it doing more harm than good?
How about you let them use some higher level thinking rather than having to focus on spelling and grammar, and let the machine take care of that, and let them come up with big ideas
and thoughts, and
instead of focusing on
concepts.
Exactly. Yeah, technology should enable them to process at a higher level so that they don't have to focus on it sort of levels the playing field for those kids that might be struggling with those low level things. They might actually be able to get an idea out on paper in a clear and concise format that others could understand. Those kids have ideas.
Yep.
I have we don't have time to go down this rabbit hole, but let's just leave it at that, because I'll go off for hours on this, because I wasn't kidding, Lennon. You would have to convince me of those points of view, because I think they're dumb.
And I completely agree. We have we're going down the rabbit hole anyway, but one of the things you talk about, those students that couldn't get their ideas out on paper, we'll use dyslexic students, right? We bought predictive text software for them all the time, because they got so hung up on trying to find the right word or spell the right word or make those silly characters on the paper mean what they have in their head. And now one of the big things with identifying dyslexic students, it's really stinking hard to have a student accurately identified as dyslexic. And a parent can't just come in and say, hey, my kid's dyslexic, pay for this software. It just doesn't work. But now you can say, hey, we literally are giving this to every blessed kid in the district. So now they don't have to have this. I mean, it's still worth probably being identified if you need to for other things, but you don't have to have that stigma of asking for extra help. You just know that it's there. I'm going to have the opportunity to have that there, and I can get my idea across, and I don't have to worry about how to spell anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Right. And
even our state,
we're all from Iowa. So we have a state assessment called ISAFS now that's done on the computer. And even in the constructive responses, those aren't scored on grammar and spelling. They're scored on if they have the proper pieces of the constructive response. So it's about getting the idea on paper. Unless it's actually about spelling and grammar, you're obviously, if you're going to give a spelling and grammar test, you're probably not going to be able to do it in a Google Doc anyway. You're going to have to do that some other way. So
do it as a Google form. What is the correct spelling?
And then have the form autocorrect it.
Yeah. Everyone got 100%. Look at that. Weird. Don't get me started on spelling tests. Right.
So I think we
just hates education.
Yeah, yep, that's it. Yep.
We've beaten this proverbial horse.
I think so.
Quite a bit. Some new things that have died in the Google world.
Old things that have died now.
Yeah. So App Maker being deprecated.
I'm so sad. I used it once.
It is going the way of Google Wave. I made that joke.
No, it lasted a little longer than Wave, I think.
I made that joke I think it was in my session on Friday, and I used it to gauge how long the people have been using Google tools. And nobody got it.
Anybody get
Nobody
it?
got
Nobody got Wave.
The tech director for Council Bluffs was in the back, and he giggled. He remembered it.
I had Wave.
But we used Wave for iTech board meetings. We tried to use that. It was terrible. But anyway, so AppMaker's going away.
I love Wave.
Did either of you guys use AppMaker?
I used it once or twice. I didn't like that you had to connect it to a database. That was sort of the hang up for me, because some of the stuff I wanted to do in there didn't necessarily getting another call, guys. Didn't necessarily. I suppose everything you would do in it would eventually require data, but I wanted to try just some simple stuff that didn't really. So,
I played around with the tutorial, the make an app tutorial, but I'm going to have to export that data before it goes away.
Yeah. So it wasn't as streamlined. It was a little too cumbersome, I think, for me to do it that way. I don't know. I'm just so ingrained in sort of the Google app script where I can just connect it to a Google Sheet. The fact that I had to connect to an actual database that I didn't necessarily have access to, I didn't like.
Or you had to go in and spin it up on
one of my
GSFE.
Sessions. Yeah, and I talked to people in one of my sessions on Friday. Did anybody use AppMaker? And one of the, it's not a district, but one of the AEAs that was there, they had paid for the training. Yep. Went through the whole training and everything, and then never used it.
Yeah, we did too.
Well, yeah,
we did too. And actually, I paid for 2 seats for that training, and in the end, it just was not as easy to use as I think Google wanted it to be.
It was,
and not super efficient. But as part of this going away, somebody pointed me toward a thing called I'm gonna do my best to enunciate appropriately. App Sheet.
Oh yeah, yes, I've used that.
Yeah, it allows you to build an app based off of sheet data and a bunch of other data.
Sheet.
Yeah, and so it's maybe going to be. I haven't played with it much more. Somebody said, "Hey, what about this?" I don't know. I haven't touched it yet. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe going that direction is going to be better for cranking out apps quick for things.
Well, it's much more like Google Apps Script, which I've used anyway. Other people have too.
It's good stuff.
I mean, there's a reason there's an add-on thing. I mean, if you guys remember back to the Google Script Gallery, that was awesome back then. So it allows you to use the sheet rather than having to connect to like a BigQuery or whatever else to build your app.
You didn't put that one in the show notes, Carl.
I didn't. App Sheet. I did not.
Yeah.
It is AppSheet.
Yes.
There's a slide in one of my presentations that just says sheet or sheets that I always have to be careful when I pronounce.
That's good because people could go app sheet over that.
Oh.
Yeah, appsheet.com. The intelligent no-code platform.
I don't necessarily.
And there are different. There's some costs to it. There's some free stuff to it. I haven't played around with it really at all, but it looks pretty cool. It looks intriguing. That's for sure.
Something to look at.
I would agree.
Speaking of dead things.
Oh,
they are now. No.
Oh.
Chrome apps. are being deprecated also.
Yeah. That's another one where people lost their minds about too.
Okay, so Carl, maybe you have some insight on this. So we had a question at our table during your session about Chrome apps, because technically, isn't like TestNav and the map test app a Chrome app that's put in kiosk mode? So what's going to happen with those?
So they're going to have to develop secure web pages.
Yep. Progressive web apps or Android apps that theoretically maybe down the road can be deployed in kiosk mode. And I have no insight on that one at all.
Thank you for agreeing with me, because I got argued against. I said, well, they're going to have to do exactly what you guys said, because Chrome apps are going away. We're not going to be able to put those in kiosk mode anymore.
Right.
But what is the deadline? Just so people don't start freaking
out. It's like 2 years away, 2 years out.
It's a ways out, but it is coming. So they're going to have to.
But they did plenty of this. So now Pearson will actually have to develop something.
Well, or they'll just buy something. They'll wait for someone else to develop it and buy it and ruin it.
Yeah. The one that you had, TestNav. From my understanding, TestNav already has one in development or even out. In some places. A progressive web app version of theirs. So the developers have been told about this for a long time.
Yeah, they get told way before we get told.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And Google has actually, this is a place where there's some really good support documents laying this timeline out for folks and developers. For me, my immediate thought was, okay, testing apps. And then I'm like, oh crap, there's probably half a dozen little apps that I wrote myself that I have to find a solution for. Like I wrote a quick little app to tie into our time card scanners that we're running on Chromebooks. And so I told Patrick, hey Patrick,
you Carl are not going to have to fix that.
Patrick, you're going to have to fix this because that ain't going to work after this date. And there's a handful of other ones that I had done too. But that to me is the big thing, is looking internally at what you did. In addition to the apps, but those big apps that we use, all those developers are going to be on this stuff. I mean, you look at like WeVideo, for example.
In the end, a Chrome app is really just a web page. They aren't actual apps. A Chrome app is a web page. So converting those to a secure, web app, it shouldn't be hard.
Yeah. So that's their big thing, is converting them to secure web pages, progressive web apps, or Android applications. Those are the three big things. But right now we can't push Android apps in kiosk mode.
But the progressive apps and everything you could.
Well, not yet. Don't you think that's coming, the Android in kiosk?
I'm
correct.
I would say that's probably a pretty accurate assumption. But I don't know. Being able to predict what Google's going to do is a little bit like taking a shot in the dark sometimes.
Yeah, like me asking for Google as an LDAP for years and years, and then all of a sudden, holy crap! It's there.
Not only do we have Google as an LDAP, we're having Google as a genuine replacement for Active Directory with managing Windows 10 devices.
Not quite a replacement yet, but it's getting closer.
Oh, it's really close. It's really close. Will
you be able to do policies?
Not yet. That's the piece it doesn't do true GPOs yet.
Not yet.
But
that's in beta. That's in beta right now. You can go sign up to be a part of that beta. However, to do it, use the Windows 10 management,
not group policies.
Sorry. The Windows piece. Yep, Windows management piece. You have to have the beta right now, and to really do anything cool, you have to have enterprise as well, because that's going to be one of those things that is going to probably be the advanced functionality is probably going to be enterprise only. But technically what we did find out in testing is you can join the beta and they send you the application. And you can, because basically what it is a little application that it hangs out on your Windows device that basically hijacks the login screen. So you could accomplish that much without enterprise. If all you want to do is hijack the login screen, so the G Suite credentials, at least the way it sits right now, the way it sits in beta right now, you can hijack that login screen, and your users can use their G Suite credentials right at the login screen and get automatically put into their Chrome browser.
No more managing multiple passwords for people.
Yay.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
And the last thing, and we do not know, now we're running up against our hour here. So
who said
I don't know that we covered
our limit? What if we have more to talk about?
Well,
it's kind of the amount of people want to listen to us.
Okay. The other good thing is that we have enough content that we can actually have another podcast in a month.
Yeah. There we go. Yes.
So
because we did not get through all of our show notes.
We did not.
No.
That's what I was going to say. We didn't get through all of them. Just that our hour's up, and we do have content for another show.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to go into one more last minute small thing.
One more thing.
We're good.
No, it was good. It was good to be back in the saddle again.
It was. Yeah. Now that we have a tool that we can use, thank you, Amplified IT, for lending us your Google Meet so we can record.
Yeah,
it was very kind of them to do.
And next time, Chad won't have to hold his microphone like this because he'll have his headset.
Yeah, I misplaced my headset. I'm not quite sure where it is. And maybe I can lock myself in a room away from my annoying dog who likes to have her hand held.
Oh,
she's laying on the floor right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right.
She's a little bit weird.
Well, I think we should leave with that mental picture in our heads.
Chad holding hands
with his dog.
So sweet.
Right. Well, good night, everybody. So until next time, watch the threads, the post. We'll let you know what's going on out there. So thanks again. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.